Welcome. We are just, getting started with Behind the Desk. I'm not taking anybody up yet. We're just gonna, this is a whole new thing. And, it's not because I'm funny looking. It's because we're gonna talk about funny shit that goes on during, the week or, Hi, Alberta girl, how are ya? Welcome in. Thanks for joining me. And, so we're just, this is Behind the Desk. And it's going to be, some funny shit that goes on during the week. Hi, Marsh. How you doing today? I will see you tomorrow at some point. Coming your way. Well, not tomorrow. Actually, Saturday. Because I'm going to only go as far as Lethbridge tomorrow. But, yeah. I will see you Saturday on my way through. Because it's an all-south route. And then, Anyways, so we're going to talk about, some of the shit some of the politicians have done this week, including, the orange pumpkin, the orange potato. So we already know what he's been doing this week. So I got to, we're going to do some cards. I brought cards. Okay, so we're going to, do some funny shit, and then we'll bring some people up, and it's not really a debate. This is kind of like just, fun stuff. What is that behind you? It's our team. It's what the whole network is, because my background before was for my other show, and this is a new one, and we just haven't got to that yet. We've been busy. So that's what's behind me. Me. And then there's Trudy, and Happy, and Frontline, and the Missus, and Moose. All of us. So that's what's behind me. If I showed you what was behind me, there's a dog, and a dog, and a dog, and a dog. Lots of dogs. Here. This is what's behind me. Oh, crap. Yeah, I gotta be careful with this. So, this is what's behind me. A whole pile of them. Everywhere. Dogs. We have 10 dogs in this house. They keep me sane because they're better than most people sometimes. But people are alright sometimes. Sometimes. I've had a really shitty week, to be honest. All based around fucking politics, of course. And yes, I can swear. This is an 18 and over. So, how do I do it? You just do it. They're like family, and they're little, and they just kind of curl up, and you don't really notice them much. I mean, you do, and then I've got them kind of separated because I got one little Yorkie that wants to fight with everybody. And then I got a great big, but 3 of them are my daughters right now, so I'm babysitting, so there's actually 13 dogs in the house right now. And then I took one of her big dogs, and then he's going for a visit for a couple weeks. I'm only going to have the little ones for a couple weeks. And then she's going back, my daughter's going back to whatever, and I'm going to have 13 dogs in the house again. It's a lot of food. Why I have a job. I work strictly to feed my 15-year-old and my dogs. Okay, so, you're a little feral? I'm a little feral too. We're all a little feral. Okay, so, let's see what's going on this week with the polls. Oh, can you see this? Here, hold there. See what we got going on here with the polls? See? We got the Liberals going, we got the Conservatives going, we got the NDP going, we got the Greens going, and the PPC aren't even a blip. That's one thing I'm actually kind of grateful for. That this PPC thing is not even a blip. Because he was a blip. Purple color that was fleeting. They were a blip. Blip. And I'm hoping that Bernier stays in the blip. Honestly. I'm hoping that he just stays like a non-issue. But if he does come up, he's just going to split the votes for the, the PPs anyways, right? We have to think of it. Just... Could you imagine? Anyway, the blips. Oh, I really hate having to have backgrounds because it doesn't let you see. I have to figure out how to do this proper. There we go. Because I want to use cards all the time. Polls. See? Polls. Anyways, see that my this is going to piss me off. Encourage my viewers to like your polls. Oh, there we go. Polls. So yeah, so the Liberals are like way up. In fact, they think they're actually ahead by 2 points. Betcha that's gonna frost old pee-pee's chompers. And I loved it. You know, the big old Sharpie. We're just axing the chalks. We just zeroed it right out and we're gonna get rid of it. Now what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now, pee-pee? So yeah, polls. Polls are kind of like, and everyone goes, well, don't pay attention to the polls. And we really don't. But I'll tell you something about the Angus Reid polls. They're slanted and biased because I belong to them, and they'll ask you age, gender, even what your race is sometimes, which I think is kind of, and you can say you're not willing to answer that. And I think that's kind of, hey, I think that's bullshit. So if they're looking for a certain demographic to vote in, you know, or show their polls being biased, hello, they will do that. So when you get, you know, like I said, they do this little thing before, and then, so who knows what the poll is, to be honest, because they don't tell you what the poll is that they're actually pre-screening you for. Could be any one of those polls that's showing that, you know, the apple chewing fucking, you know, the guy that doesn't want to put reporters on his planes or his buses. Right? He's not going to allow a press pool to travel with him during the election on his buses, on his planes, nowhere. And to be fair, like they said tonight after the way he's been treating them, they don't want to be around him for 30 fucking days anyway. Would you? Could you imagine being on a bus with fucking Pierre Poilievre for 30 days? Jesus. None. I couldn't imagine being around anyway. I couldn't imagine being on a bus with anybody for 30 fucking days. Unfucking real. But yeah, there goes the polls. They're floating. Alright, so, well, I have all kinds of cards with pictures and stuff. Okay, so this is the orange potato. So let's see what the orange potato's done today. Another executive order to take out education. The orange potato is having some troubles down there too, because the town halls are getting a little bit rainy down there. Yeah, 30 minutes. I don't think I couldn't last 30 minutes even in the same room with him. But, you know, I find it awfully funny that, you know, he's smashing down the CBC, but yeah, he's advertising all over CBC, like every second commercial. Carney's just like Justin. Like, he can't get, like, Justin Trudeau's still renting space in every fucking conservative's head. Like, stop it! He's at Canadian Tire fucking buying coffee and fucking stuff to cook. He's a bachelor now. He's got to fight, you know. He's not living at Rideau Hall anymore. He don't have no chef, and he's got to go take care of himself, and he sacrificed his fucking marriage, so now he's batching it again. That's why old JT's probably at Canadian Tire buying shit for an apartment. Right? Because you sacrificed his fucking everything. And do you understand that? Yeah, I know they do. Right? They do too. Like, they all are. Like, where'd all the money come from for all the advertising? Oh, yeah. Some church donation, probably. You know, they probably pass the donation plate around. This is for the church. This is for chomp chomp. Honk honk. Honk honk. Chomp chomp. God, I hate that background. It's gonna drive me fucking batty. Well, that's a good question, Raven. Yeah, the cover charge plate, right? You're so right there. Like, it's like, what the fuck? I go to church because, you know, I gotta, you know, repent my sins. Here's $500. Like, the fuck? Like, minimum payments at the door. You know? Here's 10%. We're gonna tithe you 10%. Right? Oh, but they're smart. Them fuckers are smart, right? They, you know, send them off to a mission to go recruit for 2 years, and then they give them a free education being a doctor, lawyer, dentist, you know, the high-paying jobs, and then they tithe the fuck out of them. That's the way you build a business, right? You just steal money from your parishioners. Did I say that out loud? I sure did. Anyways, the orange potato. That orange potato. Yeah, he is a security risk. But, here's a funny thing. Even if you're a felon, or if you have an indictable offense in Canada, same thing as a felon, I guess, and you've done something, you can actually go to the States. Even if you have a criminal record, you just got to pay for a waiver. Used to be $10,000 for a 3-year waiver, and they could, revoke it at any time, right? Oh, thank you for the gifts. But so yeah, I don't know what the cost might have gone up. But did you hear the latest? If you're a Canadian, here's some fun facts for you today. I wanted to make this fun, not fucking doomsday. But anyway, if you're a Canadian, when you're a tourist, now you have to register at the border with your thumbprints or with your fingerprints. And then they're going to give you some papers, and you got to pack them in your little pocket all the time. And if you get pulled over, you get, they want to see your papers, make sure that you're not a illegal alien and can't stay past your... You betcha. Welcome to the U.S., Russia... Here, skip the day of drinking water? No, why? Who does that? Who? Unless you can't... And if it's not available, I know some people that are right now suffering because they have no access to drinking water. And it's very unfortunate, and I wish that wasn't happening. But we're not here to doomsday right now. We're trying to kind of uplift things with a little bit of humor with the fucking shitty world that we're all living in right now. I don't know. Is this a test? Anyways, we're not here to talk about fucking water. We could talk about water all day and how it's being, the orange potato is trying to fuck with that too. If you want to get technical. I'm assuming that you're wondering about whether we would be willing to sacrifice drinking water and keep track of it to feel how it feels to be somebody that's in a war right now. Or, with PPUs and all kinds of nasty shit happening. I agree. It should be done. But again, right now it's not, we're not talking about good. We're trying to stay off the doom. Because we all live with doom right now. It's everywhere. That's why we're trying to, just kind of lighten shit up a bit. But I understand where you're coming from. But I do. And yes, I would. If it meant, it would be helpful to make people raise awareness. I would. I definitely would. Because I absolutely support freeing Gaza. I'm not a Zionist. I'm an atheist. Anyways, back to the orange potato. Because he's a gloom and doomer, but we're trying to make fun of the fact that he's cut all the funding for the kids. Who cares if they eat? New York's having a mayoral race, and can you believe they brought Andrew Cuomo back? After the scandal. Not the scandal. I guess, it's all acceptable now to have a lot of felons and guys that touch girls and little kids and everything in power because you got a felon in there that's been accused of being a rapist. So it's okay that Andrew Cuomo is being allowed to run for mayor of New York again, right? Right? I don't know. I don't know about that. But I guess it's becoming the norm, right? Well, yes, it actually is. But he's getting his fingers slapped because and to be fair, he's not a politician, right? He's a banker. I remember my aunt and uncle are corporate bankers, right? And my uncle was pretty blunt and straight to the point too, because when you're dealing with people with that kind of money and you're trying to negotiate and do business with and trying to your numbers are running through your head all the time, right? And no, they're not really concerned about being nice. Well, no, because they don't love Canada. They aren't patriots. They just hated Trudeau. This was all about hating Trudeau. This was all about and that was all U.S. fed. The infiltration was out of the U.S. for all the money back to Harper and IDU. And the fact that they're building, drones and, all kinds of Starlink type of fucking satellites worldwide so they can watch you in your bedroom. You won't have to worry about fucking anything. They'll cover it for you. These fucking crazy wackanuts. They're wackanuts. And they call it, seriously. But this is what's going on. Google it. It's free. IDU. But this all peels back to Harper. Harper hasn't gone anywhere. Old Data. Nice haircut, dude. Like, they're landlocked. Where are they going? They also sit on treaties and crown land. I dare ya. And I'm the first one that's going to stand with First Nations. We should honor those treaties, the first and foremost. Nothing is ours. This is Turtle Island. Honor the treaties. Honor the people that walked on it before us. We are guests here, and people should fucking embrace that. Because that's the way it is. Well, yes, Marsh. But we would like to share it with you as partners. And I love you. And I know what you mean. And there are some people that don't deserve to be here, yes, but some of us would love to just be partners with you and be family and embrace everything. No, we would never join the USA. And like, I really like the stance that Carney's going, like, I ain't even sitting with that guy. The orange potato not even getting 2 minutes of my time till he stops the rhetoric. And that's pretty much what he said. He goes, until he stops like flapping his lips about, and Canada's gonna be the 51st state. No, Donnie, it's not. Abso-fucking-lutely. Hi, good evening. How are you? We're having some fun times. We're flipping cards, showing polls, talking about the orange potato behind the desk on Beaver Network. Because we're changing the name from this politics part is going to be Beaver Network. We're doing some revamping and some rezamping and, trying to kind of like make a bigger audience and all kinds of things. But, yeah. We need to tap and slapping and, what is it? Slapping is tapping and tapping is slapping. Slapping is tapping. We aren't allowed to slap. So I'm here to be funny, not just funny looking. I get all kinds of, rude comments and all kinds. So I figured, put on the clown suit and, make it funny, right? Thanks for the gifts. Okay, so what I got some more orange potato stuff, right? Because the orange potato is doing some real, with his Sharpie pen. So today, again, cutting food for kids. New York's, governor said that's like a $92 billion, whatever. But again, like I said, they're letting Andrew Cuomo back to run for mayor. So I guess the prerequisite to be a politician in the United States now is being a rapist. Like, what the hell? You have to have a prerequisite. You have to be a felon first. Join the U.S. Republican Party as long as you've got your papers, but they have to be an arrest warrant. And then the town halls. They have women standing up, telling these idiots that, hey, you introduced this bill, and he's going, no, that's not really what it was. Yeah, dude, it was, and they're trying to, their congressman going, no, that's not really how it is. Arrest him, get that. Did you see where they pulled that one woman out of the crowd, and everybody just stood there and videotaped it and didn't even help her? What in the actual fuck was that? You know what my husband calls me? A porcupine. Try and hug a porcupine. Right? So, yeah, porcupines are us. Slave Lake. I might be in Slave Lake soon. My hubby's in Slave Lake. If I can make it there. And then my mom goes, it's gonna snow. And I'm like, great. I gotta drive to fucking Saskatchewan tomorrow. Well, and then it's gonna snow. Of course it is. Of course it is. Because you know what? That's my fucking luck. Everything always Murphy's Law. If it's gonna happen, everything bad happens on a fucking Tuesday. And tomorrow it's not Tuesday, but it's fucking gonna be bad. Anyways, next card. Oh, where are my cards? I have 90% loss. Oh, yeah. So here's another little tidbit the Americans are crying about. Sometimes get bobcats, cougars, moose, bears in Calgary. Honey, you should see my yard. I got more deer shit in my yard than I got dog shit in my yard. I had a raccoon in my goddamn veranda the other night eating my garbage. And the door was closed. They opened it. We have cougars too. In fact, they like to eat dogs. We have to keep them in. But yeah, so, Portland, Maine. Oh yeah, 3 of them. And they're nasty little fuckers. I took the leaf blower because it's really loud and scared the fuck of them. But of course, then, you know, the big hole in my screen just got bigger as you got 3 raccoons going right through it. Yeah, it was not fun. And then the deer, they're so brazen that they will come right in to lift the lid of my, because we have big garbage bins that you roll out to the street now. And I keep mine in my veranda so I can keep my garbage like closed and inside the veranda so that none of the animals will get near it, right? Them fuckers will push the door open and then pop the lid and eat the garbage right through the bags. I don't know who taught them to climb stairs and open doors, but these fuckers are smart. You betcha. And they're not scared of nothing. They'll be sitting outside, you know, trying to open my door handles. And I have to, like, honk the horn. They're looking at me like, or looking at the car like, oh, are you talking to me? Sundry's beautiful. Okay, so, Maine, Portland, Maine. 90% of their Canadians decided that they aren't coming for a holiday. 90% of them canceled. This poor guy's had this Airbnb business in his family for decades, and he's thinking he might have to close it because he showed envelopes of the Canadians that were coming and the Americans that were coming. And the Canadians went, gone. And he tried convincing some of them to come back, and they went, no. Yeah, sure. And I'm going to let people up here to chat in about, you know, a few minutes because talking to myself is never fun. But yeah, so he's lost 90%. So yeah, the poor guy was having a bit of a meltdown. So old Orange Potato is really affecting more of his own people than he is, you know, and they're showing up at town halls. And then the Congress is saying, or the what's his nuts from fucking the head of the, whatever they fucking call themselves right now. My brain just gapped. What's his name? I can see his fucking goofy face. Anyway, said, you guys should quit having town halls. Don't have town halls. Don't give your constituents any chance to tell you how they feel. And then somebody mentioned today, I think his name was, Steve Bannon, that they're not going to have to worry about it because Trump's going to have the next 88 too. Because they're working on changing it. That there's not going to be a 4-year term. You can be there forever. And Bannon just dumped it out today. Right out of his stupid, goofy-looking face. Like, seriously, and they got people that they're not showing anywhere. They're protesting. But do you think Vance is worse than fucking Trump? You know, it's kind of funny how fickle he is, too. You know, they get, hello, everybody. But yeah, anyways, we like to promote a little bit of our, CBC. My cards, CBC. So yeah, today on CBC too, we had, a little bit of scrumming going on. And old Rosie Barton's getting kind of frosty fried, hey? For being a little bit right-leaning and being a little bit snappy. But they were more worried about Carney snapping back at them. And I said, you know what? When you show attitude to him, he's going to show it right back to you. Yeah, that's good. Well, it's not. It's not the American people per se, but I guess the Canadians that are down there are voicing their concerns. They're speaking up and they're saying, you know what? We're not happy here. You threatening our sovereignty has really upset us. And the guy goes, well, their feelings are hurt. What, you think Canadians didn't have feelings? Oh no, you figured that we ate blubber and lived in igloos and, some of us do. But again, we're not all iglooed and we're not, we're just like you. In fact, we're smarter than you. Because we have an education system that actually isn't being dismantled by an orange potato. Yes, they are, and I feel bad kind of for Porta, whatever it's called, right across from Vancouver, because they're landlocked, right? They are completely landlocked, and if they lose, like Canadians go back and forth for gas, and they've got family, that is, Britain and German have U.S. travel warnings. Yeah, so do we. Did you not hear that the U.S. now, when you go to travel to the U.S., they want you to register your fingerprints and your destination and your length of time when you arrive? So basically, if you get off a plane, you're going to go through customs. Customs are going to take your fingerprints and give you some paperwork that you have to carry with you at all times as a tourist. I mean, it's so different, I guess, if you have to, apply for a visa or something if you go to, like, Australia and these other places. But what in the actual fuck is going on here? That's right, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's Canadians, I think, sitting in jail in the U.S. right now. Look what they're doing to that soccer player. They fucking rounded him up in an ice fucking roundup. He's a professional soccer player, and they've got him in fucking Ecuador, in one of the mass fucking prisons. And those places are fucking scary. Like, and those are like lockdown. Like, they like, it's unfucking real. If Carney elected some of the provincial governments would rather go for it. Well, let them. Who? Alberta? Danielle Smith is a corrupt fucking Trump in a skirt. Look at her policies. She's already done she's already fucking Alberta, right? But guess what? Albertans are waking up. See, we gotta feel them here, and I'm actually one of them too. I don't live there anymore, but my family's all there, and nobody's going anywhere because there's trees in Crown Land, and she's fucking just lying her teeth off to you, and you're just drinking it up and slapping your, together like a trained seal. Yeah, that's how it goes, right? Exactly. Eat my shorts. That's what I would say. Anyways. CBC? Nobody's going to defund the CBC. Because the CBC is all we got. And like I said, polio for 2025, yeah. The guy that says that he can't have a press pool on his plane to follow him around so he can be transparent and actually, reach out to Canadians that might want to, see some transparency. Honk, honk, chomp, chomp. Come qua, come qua. Polio 2025. That would actually mean that you'd actually have to have an adult in the room. And he isn't one. Do you like that he double dips on taxpayers' dollars? You're okay with that, eh? You're okay that his wife's a parliamentary assistant to a mealy mouth Michael Cooper, and they're double dipping on your taxes? You're okay with that? You're okay with taking away people's rights? Oh, and Canada First, right? You know what that means? That's a dog whistle for I'm gonna join the fucking Americans and I'm just gonna fucking snow you all because I'm gaslighting the fuck right out of you. That's what he's doing. He's gaslighting you. He's lying, gaslighting you, making you actually believe the shit that's coming out of his mouth. Guess what? You fucking fell for it like a fucking clown. Bonk! Honk! Fake carbon tax. What fake carbon tax? What are you talking about? Did you get a rebate? Did you cash it? If not, then give it back there, Radic. I bet you cashed your rebate check, didn't you? Ran straight to the bank with it. Yahoo! Honk! What about immigration? Immigrants are wonderful. They make the world go round. We need them here to feed our economy because we have an aging population, right? Right, immigration. Oh my God, you're a bot from the Trumpville, aren't you? Orange potato. We'll help you. Well, we're actually, you know what we're doing? We're setting up a fund, and it's a fundraiser to raise enough money to drive you fucks to the border. We'll load y'all up on a fucking bus, and we're gonna fucking take you right there, and we'll drive you right there. Push you right across. If you'd like to donate to us, Beaver Politics in our link tree, there's a GoFundMe, and that's all our proceeds are gonna go to get traders at the fucking country. Exactly. Immigrants. You're an immigrant fucker unless you're First Nations, and if you're not, shut the fuck up. Dental. Oh, is that all you got? I have good dental. Really good dental. It's called none of your fucking business why I've got this face. And if that's all you got, get bent. I bite. And it's a good one. Nice and fucking tough, too. Elbows up, bitches. You can tell. What can you tell? What can you tell, Radic? That you've hurt my last feeling? I don't have any. Tired of what? Tired of you? Oh, do you? You think so? You think you make more money than me? You probably do. So what? My husband works in oil. You have no idea how much money we make. And wow, people that have to lower themselves to, you're pro-Russia and anti-Israel. Well, good for you. I'm get bent and fucking, bend over. Yeah, right? I'm pro-Russia, and I'm fucking... You're a fucking moron. But we're not here for name calling. We're here to support and promote. But you know what? Those are these. These are schmatsies. You see that? That's a schmatzy. Does it look familiar? It's you. I don't really care what you think either. We're not here to care about what you think. You're here to aggravate, and that's okay. Nobody cares. Aggravation's just, pumping my numbers. So keep it up. Thanks. Thanks for bumping it and pumping it, bot. We like that. See ya. Bye. Okay, so we're going to go back to, neoliberal. Oh, really? Neoliberal. No, I don't think so. You're a schmatzy, though. You sure are. You're not a bot. Yeah, well, I don't care what you are. You have absolutely nothing intelligent to say. You just want to come in here and aggravate and call names and be fucking totally willfully ignorant and rude. Nobody invited you in, but you're here. So what intelligent that you might have to say? Go ahead, report us for what? That's being pretty petty and rude. Hi, how are you tonight? So, you go ahead and report us for what? What have we done? And what intelligent do you have to say, Air Cooled? Would you like to come up? Is that what you're looking for, some attention? What? What is it that you need? I'm here to have some fun and do some comedy and not fight with schmatsies. I'm not. And nobody's doing anything that's illegal or harmful or anything. So you go ahead. What are you going to report us for? You go ahead. Like, seriously. Like, you just want to be rude. Left win. What is left win? What am I calling people hateful names? I'm calling you a schmatzy. It's a fact. It's not just a party in Germany. It's somebody that's intolerant, rude, willfully ignorant, doesn't like disabled people or anybody intolerant than you. You think you're better than everybody else. You're probably a supremacist, a racist, a bigot. Is that name calling or is that fact? Fact that you don't like, so it hurts your little feeling because you don't like feeling the truth. That you have absolutely a moral compass that is at the bottom of a pond. Is that what hurts your feeling? Truth? That you have no moral compass. I'm not mad about anything. What is there to be mad about? You're the one that's in here being insulting and rude. And I haven't even let you, I can't define it. A Yahtzee is somebody that's intolerant. A supremacist. A racist. Would you like me to Google it exactly for you? Then what is it? Why don't you define it then? I will Google it. Pretend to drive. Okay, this is becoming an insult fest. And I'm not here to have any of you in here being insulting. So we're going to go back to having some fun and some comedy, and we're going to get rid of you. So my moderators, you can do your jobs and dump these losers, please. Thank you. Anyways, we're going to go back to the program that I had in hand, back to the CBC. So, Polyev likes to, make up all these things and, knock down the CBC and lie and say that they need to be defunded and all these things, right? But it's awfully funny that every other commercial is him promoting himself. Isn't that a bit hypocritical? Do you think? I think it's a bit hypocritical. But again, he's using all media outlets, but yet he's not allowing a press pool to go with him on the election trail. I wonder if that goes along with the security clearance. Transparency. What do you think? What do you think? Is that something that transparency that goes along with all these things, right? That a politician should do, right? Like have a security clearance and be able to be transparent with the media, right? What does that have to do with anything? No, it doesn't look like I do. Looks like, the usual supports there. I'll moderate myself. It's fine. I can do that, I think. I just have to figure out how to do it. I gotta go in here somewhere. I don't even know where I can comment. There we are. Okay, then that means I can go here, I think. No, I don't think I'll do that. I think I'll do that. Okay, so that's that. And let's see who else. Oh my goodness. The comedy is fucking hilarious in here. Alright. So there's that. Okay, girls. I'm alright. Shmars, aren't you a moderator? I thought maybe you were. I don't know where everybody else is tonight, but I'm apparently not here. Alright. Okay, we got rid of a few of those for a while. So what else do I got here? Oh yeah. So here's some other stuff I heard today. That we've got some so there was 124 ridings sitting empty for the Liberals, right? Apparently people are falling over themselves to try and get there. Get themselves nominated. And Evan Solomon. Remember Evan Solomon? So Evan Solomon used to be anchor on CBC, and they fired him a few years ago for doing some unethical things. He was doing some business things with guests and stuff, which is totally against the rules when you're a journalist and you don't make backdoor, business dealings behind the scenes with any of your guests or anybody that you had on the show, right? So that's that's why CBC let Evan go, and now he's coming forward to step up to run for an MP in one of the ridings. So that fills one of those chairs. Yeah, I thought I muted him. Apparently not. Apparently we'll just try that again. There. Anyway, why is that guy still here? Jesus. We just got all these, just complete, not nice people. Like, when did this happen? When did we just come across the algorithm of we're a bunch of jerks tonight? Maybe that's why we had 30 people in here. We got rid of 30. We got rid of 15, and 15 were jerks. We got 15 they're better. Yes, it is actually working, because like I said, we were just talking about that some of the tourism, right, is putting y'all into random people. Apparently, it must be. I got rid of him, Alberta girl, because I don't need to have people in here that are just being rude. We're just not going to have rudeness. This is not a show for rudeness. This is supposed to be funny, not arguing with people about anything. I don't want to argue with people. That's not the point of this. This is supposed to be funny. And Rosie Barton, she's been not too funny. She's getting roasted too for being a little bit biased on the politics, kind of being snappy and rude. And that's, kind of the things that, you don't really do as a journalist. You try and be unbiased, right? You try and, not be left or right or anything. You're supposed to be transparent, unbiased, and bring us the facts. Your opinion doesn't matter. Nor should it be interjected in your job. And that's what a good journalist does. They don't interject their opinions. They report the facts. And not left-leaning, right-leaning, or any leaning. They're supposed to report facts. And Rosie got nailed all week. They were roasting her on Twitter, or X, apparently. I don't belong to that platform because I think it's kind of, this one's bad enough. Don't put me on that one, too. I lose my mind enough. And it's not. And I have to find it. It runs around on the floor like marbles. You think you got a squirrel on a hamster wheel? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, craziness, right? Yeah, I think she has. Well, you can't, I often said that we shouldn't leave. A lot of people were going to exit Facebook, and I said, if we do that, then we're leaving. And then it's just going to be an echo chamber of misinformation, right? So I applaud the people that do stay on X to try and, debunk or, trying to unwind that clock. Because did you realize that we're like, this close to the dooms clock being over? Like you got pew pews and boom booms going on, and like it's reloaded. They got the Hezbollah boom boom and they've got Israel, and they've got it's all going again. Again, yeah. That's good. That's the nice thing about it. Is like I said, we can only raise awareness, right? Like we're one people, like kind of like what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to raise awareness, trying to unwind the misinformation, and people can believe it or not, because there's some people you'll never change your mind. I learned that when I started doing MJ activism many years ago. There are people that you'll never get through. In fact, there are people still that think that what they did there with legalizing the MJ was like, oh my god, it smells. Or, you know how much money that's generating into our coffers? $2.8 billion a year. Okay? Well, you can post sources, and we do have receipts. That's the thing. It doesn't matter what you post and what you bring them research-wise or anything. They still don't believe it, because YouTube told them something else. And the orange potato ain't helping, because he lies so much that everybody fucking believes him. And there's always going to be some YouTube that's going to actually, back him. You got Alex Jones, you got fucking Steve Bannon, you got fucking Joe Rogan. Like, how do you combat all of that when they are seeing that like they're seeing us, right? And we can tell them, but then we're fake news. Fake news, fake news. Don't believe nothing, we're all fake news, right? I've been doing podcasts for 20 years. But it's been in another realm, realm that this platform doesn't like. Bringing forth awareness and education and trying to make people realize that things aren't always the way they see. And yes, the government does lie to us on certain levels. Feed us propaganda. We've been being fed propaganda since 9/11 about, people that are not, that are brown. To be honest, they've been lying to us about them. Lie to us about people that live in China, that they're all like, it's a big communist, they all wear the same clothes. They do not wear the same clothes, and they don't all line up. It's the way it is, right? Thank you for the follow and likes. But again, like, you have to, pick through the muck. And it's fucking hard, especially when, like you said, you got these people that are just doing these things, but they always got some YouTuber that's going to back them. So they say they've got receipts, and they usually do, but it's some conspiracy theory of bullshit that somebody else has made, like Joe Rogan or Alex Jones or fucking David Parker. Who the fuck knows? Danielle Smith, for that fucking matter. When you got a politician like that feeding fucking her base a fucking pile of shit every day, when you hear it over and over again, you start believing it. And if you keep telling lies over and over again, you start believing yourself. Sometimes you lie so much you believe yourself. And that's kind of the way that seems to be rolling over there. It's scary. Scary as fuck. Right? Thank you. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate those a lot. Hello. But again, like I said, we can only do what we can do. We're one person in a big mob. I've often said we're all a bunch of beavers in a dam. Right? And, it is. And like I've mentioned before, my parents got a bill from AHS for $3,000. What? Like I said, I'm just waiting for the first first mom or first parents that have a baby that get a bill from the government of Alberta for $30,000 for the birth of their child. I'm just waiting for it. And then you're going to hear an uproar. And then the masses are going to be crying. As soon as that fucking starts happening. And like I said, my parents have already got a bill for $3,000, right? So when they start sending extra billing and they start fucking sending out bills for surgeries and babies being born, that's when they might get it. Because it's always in the pocketbook, right? Raise taxes, start extra billing. I remember when the doctors started extra billing in Alberta in the 90s. In the whole fucking province, everybody was in a fucking uproar. Right? And that's when they decided then that was right after they decided to end the premium. So we quit paying for Alberta Healthcare Services. It was like $40 a month for, like they had here for MSP for years. And they took that out. And then we were like, well, if they take that out, how are we going to pay for healthcare? Like, the doctors started extra billing because they cut them back to 15 minutes and only so much and so many patients. And a lot of the doctors left. They moved to the States. Tommy Douglas wanted us to have universal health care. Health care is a right in Canada, but they shouldn't be charging us and extra billing us. What happened was that we had an overabundance of doctors in the early 90s and they weren't paying them what they were worth. And the Americans were short, so they all bailed. A lot of nurses went to Texas. A lot of nurses and doctors went to Washington and Oregon, right? Like, that's a fact. There was in the 90s. They had to stop it because the people in Alberta went, no. So again, like, they're starting to, like, my parents got a bill for $3,000 from Alberta Healthcare, right? So I'm just waiting for the first young family to have a baby, and they get a bill for $30,000 for the birth of their child. That's when the fucking Alberta population will finally get it. No, but the thing of it is, in order for them to come back to Canada, they have to be relicensed. And they have to get their licenses back. Right? So that means they have to, like, recertify themselves. They can't just pick up they can't just come rolling in, like, even province to province. That's one thing that's been an issue in Canada, too, that doctors and nurses can't move province to province because of licensing and red seals. And, like, same with electricians and plumbers and hairdressers, even. Like, when I moved from Alberta, I couldn't work in BC because I had a red seal from Alberta. This is before we had interprovincial licensing. So that being said, too, like, even lawyers can't practice in every province unless they have interprovincial licensing. They have to practice in each province, right? Because different laws. Every province has its own economy. Every province has its own legislations and laws, right? Jurisdictions. So doctors, lawyers, nurses can only practice in one province unless they have interprovincial licensing. Yeah, that's a dog whistle, red herring, whatever. That's because he figures that liberals are weak. And Poilievre's been saying some nasty things. And they just want to decipher, Poilievre is Trump. Wacko, wacko, wacko. Yeah, they're the exact same person. In fact, Harper bought the MAGA branding 5 years ago. Went in the back door of the White House, bought it up, IDUs, and, all kinds of things. They're in the cahoots with all kinds of fucking bullshit. It's corruption at a high level. But, all the three world salads, it's like Trump. He's Timu Trump. And Daniel Smith is Trump in a skirt. Yeah. He did. Well, he did. He did say that. Because he's stupid and doesn't know how to negotiate or actually play politics in a nice manner. You have to have some professionalism. Chomp, chomp, Hong Kong, come see, come. Come on. Right? I'm nothing. I actually resigned. And then I had to run around with the whole fucking fucking shit again today, and I took the chair back, and then I dropped it again. I'm dropping it again because I ain't playing games with fucking assholes. So I don't know what I am today. I'm a fucking flower. Yeah, they sure are. They're dismantling everything. They really are. I was the chair of the Liberal Riding Association in my area, and I told them to get jammed. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story that we're not going to get into. It's not the little party I told to get jammed. It was the people that were trying to be, yeah. Anyway, trying to jam a candidate down my throat, and I went, no. And then did it wrong, and whatever. So I'm just walking. I'm not playing. I don't play in the cat box. I don't play in the cat box. I'm not going to be a distraction, and I'm not going to be fighting with people. Either you play by the rules or you don't. If you're not going to play by the rules, I'm out. That's the way it goes. But I'm also a stakeholder with Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, too. Here. And actually, yeah. Oh, God, everybody thinks, I don't care what you think. That's what I think. I don't care. Anyways, we were supposed to be like having some fun and jamming. And anyways, it's slapping and clapping and happening. Or whatever the hell that is. Slapping is tapping is happening and sharing is caring. I think that's what it is. Because this is not my personal page. This is the Beaver Network page. So thanks for coming to the show and hanging out with me. And I think we've been on for an hour now. So if anybody wants to come up and join me, we will open up the panel for a couple people to, bounce back and forth, but like I said, we're going to keep it pretty light because this is not the debate channel. There's 5 other shows on this channel for that. There's a lot going on. There's everything going on. Everything and anything. But again, like I said, if you want to, the conservatives want to oh, well, what's about ism? And you hear it. Well, Polyev went to this steel mill and it was owned by Canadians, and then Carney went to this one over here and this one was owned by this one. So in other words, Carney's trying to open the doors to other trade lines, other markets, and Poilievre's trying to be Canada first. Protectionism. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't use our Canadian companies and absolutely support them 110%, but we also need to open other trading avenues and networks so that we can keep those steel mills going, because there's not enough import to here to sustain all the companies that we've got, because we have a smaller population. And I think that's one thing that the orange potato doesn't quite understand, that you got a 400 million population in the United States, and up here we're 4 million, 40 million. 40 million to 400 million. The orange potato don't seem to quite get the grasping of the numbers. I have a hard time with math, but even I get that. So when he's talking about deficits and all this shit, we would never import the same amount of stuff that they do, because we're not as big as them. Mass-wise, yes. Population-wise, no. His math don't math. My math is, like I said, I'm not a mathematician by any stretch. I have a hard time. I have to use my fingers. But even I can understand that. It's mind-boggling. Population, hello, serious, I don't understand how people don't get that. We got 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, and he doesn't even have a potato in his brain that's a potato. It's just ridiculous. You can't even compare it. So no, we will never import as much as them. We will never export as much as them, because we're not them. We're not as big as them, and we will never be them. And you all want to bitch about immigration? We need some immigration. Right now, because of housing, we've stopped immigration, because we need to catch up. But hey, goddamn, we helped 350,000 Ukrainians run for safety. Jesus, damn that Justin Trudeau, right? Don't save people. God, what's wrong with you people? The moral compass is at the bottom of a pond. They've come and they've contributed and they work. And they're contributing to our taxes, which contributes to you, because your taxes pay for everything, right? Including the water that runs out of your fucking tap. Anyways, so much for this being non-debatable and not nasty. Who's coming up today? Come on, Smarsh. I don't want that big screen thingy going on. How do I get rid of that? I don't like that.
As I'm talking to you while I'm on mute, go into your the little people where it's like a guest.
Yep.
Go hit that button.
Yeah, go
Go
Linda.
to go to the little cog wheel. It looks like a cog wheel.
Oh, hang on. I did something else here now. What the hell did I do? Okay, so
I
yeah.
don't know.
Okay, now I got you. There, I got it.
And then go to the panel, and there you go. Or
Nope,
nope.
I hit the wrong I hit the wrong one! Which doesn't surprise me. Okay, what am I
That's
doing?
okay, honey. We get it.
Grid fix. Okay, so is that the one I want? Maybe. No. That doesn't work either, but anyway, we'll try again. I just want to have, there's got to be another way of doing this. By default. What the heck? I know it's showing, but it's showing grid panel. Let me see. Like I said, it's, oh, hang on. There's a box here too, let's see. Okay, there we go. I want to do. This is not trivia time. We should have done trivia time. Maybe next week we'll do trivia time, because I don't know, those two, whatever the hell they were, those two bots coming in there being all la la la, and then insulting too, oh my god, is that all you got, dude? That's kind of calling me
My thing is, okay, you make $200,000 a year. You own property. You've got vehicles. What the fuck are you doing on an app arguing with people?
right? Well, I can't figure it out. I'll just leave it like that.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
If you've got so much money and the only thing you can do is insult me about my teeth and get dental work, you have no idea what I've done to get dental work. I have got dental work. this is why my teeth are separated because somebody decided to pull my wisdom teeth and they decided to go this way because I went and got the dental work. And then they told me that I could
Oh.
bring them together because I also got like they I always had a bit of a space, right? But it was never like this when I was younger.
Hmm.
But I because of my age too and periodontal, I could get Invisalign, right? And have them put together.
Yeah.
No guarantee they'd stay. They might just like
Right.
so what's the point of wasting that kind of money? And when I'm ready, I will yank them all out and get dentures put in. My bottom teeth are perfectly fine. And it wasn't like these ones were bad, but I had a baby at 40. I lost a fill.
Yeah.
I went to get that filling filled and she yanked that tooth because I ended up with a bad dentist. And that tooth ended up being the next tooth because she decided to pull that one and then my wisdom teeth, which left like and so everything started moving backwards. Anyways, yeah.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
I go to the dentist every 3 months. So
Yeah.
yapping about dental work. Oh, and PS, if I was, under the certain income level, Canada federal government now offers dental to everybody. So it's not like
Right.
everybody in Canada can't get the dental work they need.
Yeah.
I always wanted a gap tooth. That's what people say it's you. Like, do I hate it. Like, I don't like it. And when people insult me about it, it bothers me. Like, but it doesn't because, like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, right? But it bothers me to the point that I've looked into getting braces. I've looked into getting Invisalign. I've looked into all these things to be told I can't,
Right.
right? Like, it's not like, yeah, but I don't have, like, again, why should I explain anything to anybody, March? Right?
Well, exactly. You don't owe anyone a goddamn explanation.
Whatever. Like I said, people
Just
just
like,
want to be insulting. So you can be insulting all you want because that's fine.
yeah, you can be a dick. Like you're on an app being a dick, showing me your true colors. Keep flapping your gums.
This guy came in and told me that, my teeth were, get some dental, they're yellow, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you know what? Like, whatever. They're not that bad.
Oh, I got told the other day I was too fat to be Lebanese. I'm like, what does weight have anything to do with being a certain ethnicity?
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
I actually
And
did a
why are you
video
pointing
on it.
out? And what does it matter whether I'm Lebanese or green or yellow? What does it matter? Like, why is everybody pointing everything out like that? Like, dude, you
Oh,
walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, you're white." Like, you're too this to be, like, what the hell does that even mean?
oh, because I had said someone came up to me and said I look like I'm Lebanese. And I said had to correct them and say, no, I'm not Lebanese. And I corrected them. And he went directly into my inbox, started speaking Lebanese, and was like, you're too fat and ugly. I'm like, dude, I'm not Lebanese. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it was just, oh, it was horrible.
Hey,
And I
Cindy,
cried. But I cried and,
Oh, don't
how's it
don't
going?
cry. Oh, I decided to go troll back to writer's page. Well, I'll tell you something right now. He ain't no Keanu Reeves, that guy. He needs to look in the mirror before you talk about people's teeth. Now I know his page, so now he has me on his.
Oh, now you're in trouble, motherfucker. You're on the radar. Now you're on the radar. Mm.
So,
Like, he should be so lucky that he has pretty us and us like looking at him.
watch what I'm going to do. You know me, trolls. You know me. You know I go full force on them.
You got
So,
yeah.
that said I was a Mennonite. I'm not cheap, and I'm not cheap and shady. You live in Tabor? You know about the Mennonites?
Oh my God.
Hey, I lived in Tabor, March. Like, let me tell you, it was the worst time of my life. Trying to own a business there. Like, it was horrible.
I had bought moccasins off someone and I thought it was a little odd that they were different colored. I was like, okay. And I don't know if they were Mennonite or whatnot. The guy's like, the picture said $70, $75, and then they would drop them off to me when they're in Medicine Hat. I'm like, okay, great. The guy goes, yeah, that's 80. I'm like, Bitch, you said it was 70 or 75, so they took $80 of my money, and I'm like, wow, I just got ripped off. Like,
Wow.
and
Okay.
they're not even like put together properly.
That's yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, he and no hate saying, grew on the other side of the Bible Belt. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I grew up in Lethbridge.
Yeah,
I dated a Mormon. I was trying doing a seminary, and supposed to be in. I was engaged in Mormon to when I was 16, and his mom figured I should move to Cardston and learn how to make bread. And I'm like, no, no. So I went to hair school and met my ex-husband in a bar when I was 16. And that was the end of that. Smart Alex. Yeah, I was in
right?
hair school. And they asked me for my ID, and I handed it to them. I had my learner's license right handed. They looked at it and let me in.
Yeah. Well, no, and I was just my friend went out and for Christmas, I bought her a little something for Christmas because I was like, we do the gift exchange for Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know you're Indigenous and I know you're like getting in touch with, and she bought me like one of the most comfortable pair of moccasins ever. She goes, I didn't know if we had a spending limit. I'm like, normally we do. And yeah, oh yeah, it was the most beautiful pair of moccasins I've ever seen in my life, and I still have them. I'm like, yeah, these are not going anywhere.
I have several pairs because we have a drugstore here in town that brings in Laurentians, and they're First Nation
Yeah.
too. So I've got, and they come in all kinds of different colors. So I've got about probably 20 pairs, and then I bought another pair from Manitoba Mucklucks not that long ago.
Oh my God, those are so warm. I'm waiting to
So
get some.
we don't have. I've got a pair of boots, but they're this like I didn't care for their boots. Honestly, the bottoms of them, I was always falling on my butt. So I didn't, and I don't like yeah. So but I did have a pair of the Mucklucks. I did, but they ended up getting flooded in my basement.
Oh no.
And Mennonite, you can call me whatever you want, but don't call me Amish. Actually, one of my best friends was actually connected. They call themselves Mexican Mennonites,
What?
and they say that
They're
they've got
not.
dual citizen. No, they say they've got dual citizenship because one of their great grandfathers, arrived from Germany to Mexico and landed in Mexico because they were also they were German, being persecuted for their religion, and fled. Only they fled Germany. Same with the Doukhobors. The Doukhobors fled Russia. So we had Doukhobors that fled to Grand Forks here. They were from Russia. And then you had a bunch of the Amish, the Mennonite, the Hutterites were all German, and they were all fled to Canada during, for because of religious persecutions. To be fair, the Canadian government back, Johnny MacDonald was giving away land for $1
Yeah.
for homesteading. So they were advertising in Europe to bring your families over because they wanted to start populating Canada.
Yep.
No, I'm not in Grand Forks.
Please,
But I'm fairly close to that. Go ahead. I'm going to mute myself so you guys can talk for a minute so they don't have background.
Oh no.
uh,
I just
Italy right now is giving property away for $1, try to get population into Italy. So it's a common thing. But I do know tonight I was seeing about Elon Musk going after the Pentagon and find out the military strategy to fight China.
he
Now
couldn't find
this
himself out of a wet paper bag. I'm sorry.
this is problematic because if Canada shared any intel with the U.S. with the Pentagon, which they did, right? Because we are part of the Five Eye. He wants all that information.
Marsh, you want to mute yourself, hun, while Sirius is talking? Sorry.
So he wants all that information, and that is getting really concerning. Well, I've been concerned for a while, but that is to a whole different level. So, is it a pretense go against China, or to find out what we have in our military capabilities, or is it really against China? I don't think they're going to go against China. I don't think they're stupid enough to do that move.
No, I know. I seen that tonight. They were going to giving him top security information, and I'm
Yeah,
like, you're giving Elon Musk top security information. Like what?
He said specifically he wants the strategy, war strategy against China. So
There
that's
is no strategy against China. It's against Canada and everybody else.
exactly. But here's the thing: the Pentagon, the Five Eyes, right? They always have this drop plan if, in case we go in war with a country like Russia, China, North Korea, so on and so on. Okay, there is a blueprint. That blueprint doesn't get activated until there's a war kicks off. Elon wants that blueprint. So, and that blueprint has part of our strategy how to adjust to a invasion. That's what I'm trying to. It's so that's where it becomes very concerning.
I'm probably not going to sleep now. Thank you. You're muted, honey.
Sorry. I saw one of Nitty's videos tonight too, and it was talking about more or less the IDU with Harper and everybody and the drones and the satellite system that they're trying to get up that will actually like outdo what Musk's Starlink will do. And this is all the IDU. Like they've got XCSIS, they've got like all kinds of top and ex politicians from all over the world in this IDU. But they've also been testing the drones in Palestine already. So I think it's called was it the Lilac Project or something along those lines? Series I can't remember. Is it the Lilac Project or the Acadia Project? Something like that along those lines. I can't remember the exact name of it. But they're drones that actually do facial recognition through masks. So they can actually recognize you, and they're put out there without anybody monitoring them. They're set on a mission to like basically this size of person, this amount of weight, blah blah blah, and this drone sent out to
The original sorry, the original name of that is called the Wolf Pack. I had talked about it last year, and there is another one. Okay, so the wolf pack have the white wolf, the blue wolf, the red wolf, and so on and so on. And each one of them has the technique. One sees through walls, one is through facial recognition, so on and so on. And then you have another set of technology. Now, I had said this last year that they were testing this on the Palestinians, but they do plan to implement this in Canada. I said this last year because I did a deep dive in it. I went into some archives in Israel. I had to translate everything. That was a headache. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons I was trying to warn Canadians that what's going over there, is coming here. Yes, that maybe not from Israel, but is coming here from somebody. I really didn't expect it to be the guy next door. Because I didn't think they were going to re-elect him, right? Now, this is where it gets all twisted and mangled in the conspiracy theories, right? Now, the ones or twisting the truth of the conspiracy theories, right? Or using the information but twisting it to another group, to weaponize it to another group, right? And that's been their game plan the whole time. But and now we're dealing a bunch of Kool-Aid people, sorry to say, and trying to weed out what is true, what is not true. And I think it did it by purpose, to mixing so many information with truth and lies. But they did that in World War II. Exactly the same blueprint, right? They mixed everything together to get the people confused, and then now people are having a hard time to know what's left, what's right. Um, it just become very insane. Um, Today I was offline most of the day. I was in public and having conversations with people. And my
You're brave.
um a lot of people were talking about Alberta, the Trump, and those two main subjects, really, right? And even the ones were, how you call that, not purposely, okay? They were not purposely trying to spread misinformation, but they were telling me, and I'm like, no, 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 dude, you have to revise that. You understand? So, so this is getting like what? Also, um, we were talking about it last year. Um, that there is certain people on this app. We all know they work for the government, but working for the government is okay. It depends on what type government, right? So if they're CIA, that's not a good thing because they're doing something on the app to try to confuse the mass on this app. Same as X, same as everything. Um, and then people just taking the information and not double checking their information, not triple checking their information, um, and going to the archives. Now I go into the archives now, either in Washington or Canada. I go straight into archives because even Google, I'm no longer trusting because there's a lot of things are being purged. It's
Well,
being
never mind that they're purging all the U.S. databases too. They're purging all the veterans. All that stuff is being purged. Now, our stuff here, I don't know. We're kind of like in that conundrum of our servers are in the US too, right? And Google's in the US. So are they fucking with our stuff too? Are they really just and you and I both know that you do the research and I don't fall down the rabbit hole. And if I have questions, I go to you because I know that you've done the research on it and done it properly. Like you're not watching YouTube channels,
no, no, no. I stay away from YouTube.
right? And
No,
that's the thing. Like we have to get our information from other places besides YouTube, right?
yeah,
And that brings the kind of like you have to shake your head and go, "Is this real? Is this satire? Or is this real? Like it can't be real." Like even when it
exactly.
happens and you find out that it is real, you go, "Holy fuck, is that real?" Like this can't be real.
It's mind-boggling. Okay, so there's a somebody in the conservative. I won't call it the name because I'll probably get kicked off this app again. Um, she is like, I believe in Ontario. I'm not too sure if she's in Ontario. Anyway, keep babbling about against the liberals and blah 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 blah, and make it out she's an anti-vaxxer. Okay. Now, I know for a fact that she took the vaccine, but promoted it as being them bringing in the vaccine at the time. I don't know if you remember that. Anyway, she tried to take the credit for the vaccines. Then, yeah, so check this out. Now, then she turned around when she got a backlash, right? That's when after the convoy, she twisted her version of the story, right? She changed it, saying that she never got a vaccine. She had nothing to do with the vaccine, blah, 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 blah. Okay. A few of us had posted her information before and after to show that she's lying. Now, when you go in Google, right, you can no longer get that newspaper article.
Wow. It's kind of like that when they just kicked out of the ND or out of the BC Conservatives here for um Kush got caught basically being basically saying that residential schools didn't happen, that yeah, I don't even want to repeat what she said, right? I just can't even do it. So anyways, so they threw her out and two others of the caucus quit because they actually believed what the crap that was coming out of her mouth. Like, why is it there are so many people that, like I said, their moral compass is at the bottom of a pond? Like, when did all of a sudden this happen? Like, when did people become so like that didn't happen and have absolutely no compassion for anybody else, no matter who they are? It doesn't matter what your background is or what your ethnicity is anymore. They're just like no compassion, heartless, no soul, no nothing. Like, they're just like drones, like zombies. And I have to wonder, like, they say, well, is it because they got COVID? Did they, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people say, well, you should have horns and this and that. You had how many vaccines, blah, blah. But think about the consequences of all these people that had COVID. And it affected,
Yeah.
and it affected and swollen this and that, and, affects their organs. And now they're just not quite thinking clearly. Was it the vaccine? Was it maybe like, what was it? Like, is it the fact that they actually had their high fever and they lost their brain, like, so many brain, I don't even know what to say anymore.
I just call them the Kool-Aid people. I don't know.
Well, I call them seals
They're drinking.
instead of sheep, because it's, clapping like what seals, like
They're drinking something. That's what I know. They're drinking something. They have to be drinking something. Uh, but I will say this, okay?
maybe it's the Budweiser, it's the Bud Light.
I I keep telling them when they come back at me and
Thank you for the roses.
when they tell me there's no unmarked graves, I said, dude, do you understand in Montreal we have unmarked graves of the Irish? So why do we have unmarked graves of the Irish but not the Indigenous? Riddle me that.
Well, when we've got the Taha out here, right?
Yeah.
And they turned that residential school into a beautiful resort and casino and restaurant, and it's beautiful. There's a lot of history there, but they actually have tours, and they've got an interpretation center in the lower floor, and you can actually take tours and actually uh, they'll educate you whatever you want. Like, they will show you everything, right? But they turned that whole horrible that whole horrible history into something positive. And Sophie Pierre was the inherited chief, and Joseph Pierre is her son. And at the time that they came out and they announced there was 182 unmarked graves at the Tamaha Nation, and she came right out and she said, no, those graves were all marked. We had a fire out here. I don't even know where my grandparents are buried anymore, because the graves had wooden crosses on them and they were all deteriorated. We know where they are. We just don't have them all marked. But there was also a hospital out there and a white settlement out there at one point in time too during the residential. We had St. Eugene's Hospital. So there's all kinds of different things that could be found out there as well, right?
So
But again, they didn't want to. But they also didn't want to. They also didn't want to search the landfill in in Winnipeg,
I was just watching something about that actually.
and they did. And look what they're finding. So
yeah.
don't tell me that they're not going to find anything there, because just because you think
Oh,
they're not doesn't mean it's true. And your opinion doesn't matter, because if your opinion is not a fact, and if you don't have receipts, don't say it.
Look, me, I just slapped them back with information. Like when you know me in history, right? So when they come at me, I just slap right them back. So they're like, why do we need to compensate them? And I said, well, then give back the checks that your mother probably took. Because Nova Scotia got their money, the French got their money.
Compensation. Do people not realize that we're living our money? Okay, First Nations trust money is way more than we've got. Our government's been
I'm talking about the residential school, the
yeah,
church.
right? But they're like, in reality, Canadians are living off First Nation money,
yeah.
hmm
because it was
But
brought
we
up
talk,
about the fact that there were some settlements.
Why is it about money? Because I'll tell you why it's about money. Y'all took everything from us.
well, exactly. But here's the thing: when you speak to them like that, they don't hear. But when I tell them, Really? So, what about the French when they got their money? You shut up. When when in Nova Scotia they got their check, and I know they got their check because I know a few people got a check. Okay,
Yeah,
you shut up. You didn't go in the streets and protest that shit. You understand?
no,
You guys sit down and you be quiet. But the moment it's time for the indigenous to be recognized and get their settlement and their peace of mind, right?
yeah,
You have to make noise.
exactly. Here's the thing, Robert. I want you to know this. Those CERB checks that everyone got, that came from Indigenous money. Just so you know. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. You're muted again. You're muted again.
It is also a combination. There's a lot of MJ taxation that's come in $2.8 billion a year. That's
Yes.
also that's
Okay.
what took care of a lot of the CERB.
I was
So
looking at I was looking it up the other day because I had the information. All the surpluses that the Canadian government give people come from First Nations. They didn't have enough money to make that float.
oh, I believe that. I'm not disputing that. Not one. No, no, not even disputing it.
Yeah. No,
I believe that.
that's all I was clarifying.
Yeah, no,
Well,
but
I
I believe
did,
that.
I did get a letter. Well, I got a letter, email saying that when I had to raise twice the tobacco tax on my
Yeah.
in my store, it was and it said for CERB to pay back to CERB.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's why Canadians didn't have to pay it back, is because it was taken from other areas so
yeah,
that it wasn't required for anybody to have to pay back that $12,000 or whatever it was, 2,000 a month for 6 and 8 months. Like some of like
Yeah.
that was a lot of money everybody got. I didn't
Well,
have to pay
yeah.
anybody back, and it was loaned, and hopefully with interest paid back by the Canadian government. And again, yes, but I mean, again, a lot of the resources and stuff that are coming off First Nations land is going into trust that our government's using to invest to keep us afloat. And
Yeah.
other Canadians don't realize that. They just think that they think that they actually believe that their tax dollars are paying for you. And I just can't even like it's just like do you guys not get it? And it's no explaining it
Okay.
to them. There's no explaining it.
Roberick, I'm not saying you. I said anyone who got served ended up getting money from the First Nation trust account. There's supposed to be 200, there's supposed to be $2 trillion in that account. $2 trillion in that account with an interest of $35.8 million. Billion, sorry, billion. That is supposed to be in that trust account. You know what funded the CN Railway? The First Nations trust account. You know what? The Oslo Canal in Ottawa, that was the First Nations trust account. So everything that you get, like surpluses and serve and everything else, that comes from First Nations, and we pay taxes if we don't live on reserve. So no, you don't pay for everything, and we don't ask for handouts. We ask what's owed to us. That's
That's
what
well,
we do.
and they don't get tax free if they work on reserve. So they have to pay income tax on their
Yeah,
checks unless they work on reserve.
yeah, and not even a penny from the Hudson Bay, and the Hudson Bay is going to go out of business pretty soon.
Yeah, they're bankrupting themselves, and that's
Yeah,
and it's funny because my husband's great grandmother was married to an icebester who was one of the first off the North Bay boats when they came to
yeah,
northern Saskatchewan, right? So it's just billions and billions and billions of dollars that they've made, right? And
yeah.
again, it's
Off,
supposed to be in a trust with being paid interest. So why is it always a big deal to have to give anybody their money back? And why
or
is it
their
that
land.
Canadians are so offended by that? I'm not. If it's old, pay it.
Yeah, well, you know what?
thing,
I,
they don't want to pay it, right? So
No, because then they won't have anything to float with.
no,
If
no,
they
no, 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 no. Here's the thing. Here's the
they won't
thing.
have anything.
The reason they don't want to pay it back, or they don't want to give recognition to Indigenous people is not that. It means they have to take accountability for the stuff that they benefit from. And they don't want to do that because they believe if they give equal rights for everybody, they lose some. It doesn't
The
mean
leverage. They lose the leverage,
Yeah,
right?
they lose everything. They lose
But
control.
here's another thing that really bothers me, that some people are saying that, and I'm not sure if this is true. This is some, whatever, but
Yeah,
they're trying to make it so that all reserves are independent and turned into municipalities, which then takes away your treaties, which basically leaves you like in the same conundrum of equality but not equity. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, I
Like,
know.
and that's what, and I like to point out that the Conservatives' declaration and policies, your First Nations are 112 down on the list. Like underneath removing trans women from men, or trans whatever from sports. Like
Yeah,
that's where the priorities are, and I think that's
yeah,
bullshit. Like there, you know what, Roderick? There is corruption on the reserves, and there's
yeah.
no
And I'm
getting
not gonna
around that.
deny that.
And nobody has ever denied that, and that's another reason why. And Treaty Six will tell you this, and we spoke about this on one of the other your networks shows, that that's one of the reasons why the Canadian government doesn't just hand over all the money to the chiefs and the bands, because they aren't accountable enough, and they don't want to see it not taken care of properly.
Right. But you also have to think about it this way. Yes, there is corruption on reserve. We know that. And you know what? That's fine. That's understandable. There's corruption in every part of this country. But it also has to do with the corrupt politicians that are in office because they're giving them, oh, I'll give you this if you just give me this. Like it's
It's like a
I'll give
carrot.
you peanuts for dollars. You know what
Well,
I mean?
and it's like people that have lived in poverty forever. You dangle anything, they're going to be wanting to take it, and it's extortion.
Well, we are in. I was saying this to somebody just the other day. Okay, we are living in times that now every treaty, okay, across the board, they need their own sovereignty. They need their own police. They need their own um, system in place against corruption, against everything, and handle their stuff. Be more autonomous, right? Um, Canadians has to, for the indigenous community to be able to grow more, right? They need
Yeah.
to take their own power back.
But
They
we
need.
can't do that if they go. Okay, my dude, you're really
Uh huh.
starting to piss me the fuck off.
Who is?
Oh,
Okay, Roderick. Some of the bands do have their own police, but they're usually in hand with the RCMP as well. I know the Blood Tribe have a police force on the Blood Tribe, on the Blood Reserve. I know that Sasika has their own police force too, but not all of them, right? So again, the RCMP are still responsible, and that's traumatizing for a lot of people, to be fair. So, and again, like, you have to just kind of take into perspective what they've been through, generational trauma, and it's sometimes pretty fresh because not all resident, like, day schools and stuff were still running, right? In fact, in some northern parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, a lot of those kids didn't have high schools. So even like to this day, some of them have to be transported to Winnipeg or Saskatoon to go to high school, where they're put into group homes or in a situation where they're not safe, right?
Maybe I should start just doing what the white people do to me and just start talking about their trauma.
Well, I'm in British Columbia. I'm on the Tanaha territory, which is made of four bands, which is Tanaha, Akum, Lower Plains, and Tobacco Plains. And we're right in the middle of the Columbia River Basin water treaty dispute, because our Kukanusa runs out of the Columbia River right down to the Libby Dam. So
Yeah,
we are right in that conundrum right now, where Trump has torn up that treaty between us and them
yeah,
for our water. And they're also got the Alberta side trying to push through Grassy Mines, which will pump
yeah.
more selenium into the rivers by the Old Man River and all through that part of southern Alberta, which I remember when the Old Man River Dam was being put up. the Blood tribe didn't like that. They're actually not called Blood. They're called Piikani now, and they didn't like it either. And Mountain Born with a tooth was standing on one side of the coulee shooting at them. It wasn't Oka, but it was getting close.
Yeah, I'm so tired of this. Oh, there's corruption in the. We know that. We've been knowing that
Well,
for
that's the thing. That's
years.
that's something that is always pointed out, and it's not. It's a moot point now. It's a moot point. They know that it's there. They're working to correct it. They can only do like, but again, like even out here, like they had a okay. So some of the mandates and some of the bylaws on the reserves kind of are like what. So this last band election they had, it was pretty straightforward. Joseph Pierre didn't win. It was the Bonnie. I can't pronounce the last name, so I'm not going to try. But the election before that, it was a tie. And you know how they broke the tie? They flipped a coin because that's how
Yep.
they had it mandated in their bylaws that if there's a tie, they flip a coin. We thought that was a bit odd, but that's what they did, and that's how they wrote
Yeah.
their election, right? So there, some of the traditions and cultural ways aren't the same as ours or other bands across the country. There's how many 600? How many? 600
634.
different bands and reserves across across Turtle Island. That's not including the United States. That's just Canada. And yeah, and when they say land back, they're not going to come and take your fucking house. So quit.
I don't want your house. I want the rights to own the. I want the rights to this land.
Uh, when
I
they
want to
say,
help this land flourish. Yeah, I don't want no people's
Stewards of the
houses. I
land saying
barely.
that they're looking towards
I
sustaining
don't know where
the
that came
country
from.
for everybody because they're not one-sided where they only think of themselves. They're actually thinking of all of us.
Yeah, we want the country to flourish. Nothing else.
Who started that rumor anyway? They're coming for your house.
Oh, that Lorelai, what?
For heaven's sake.
I'm trying to accept people, but they're not able to come up. What's going on? Okay.
Because they're private, that's why.
No, I got one up. Okay, Roderick, yeah, for
Yeah, it's just Rick.
hi Rick. Okay, sorry. For TikTok purposes, we have to ask you how old you are.
60.
Oh, okay. Well, you're welcome to come on in then.
I think. Thank you. I think I'm old enough. I
they're,
live
they're
in.
they're touchy about like because
Yeah,
we're
I
late.
know.
And then we just ask you that when everybody's talking or somebody's talking, we just get you to mute your mic so we can hear you better because these pick up everything.
I got you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. I live in Manitoba, and we have the largest First Nations population in Canada here in Manitoba. So, if you ever been to a Jets game, before the game starts, we always recognize the Ojibwe, Cree. What's the other one? Well, I think there's four different types
Well,
of
you got
First.
Mohawk for sure. So you got
No,
Mohawk.
no,
No
not
Mohawk.
Mohawk. No, it's not the Mohawk. In Manitoba, it's not Mohawk.
What's
The
that? What?
Anishinaabe, the
That's the one. That's the
Ojibwe,
one. Anishinaabe. Thank you. Anishinaabe. Thank you very much.
Anishinaabe, and Métis.
And Métis. That's we recognize them at every game before the game starts. We recognize them at the football stadium, at the Bomber Stadium, before every game. We have Wob Canoe now here in Manitoba.
Fucking jealous.
Yeah, you should be.
Sorry. Thought I was.
But
I think everybody should have a wob canoe. Honestly.
I want a Wob canoe.
did you of course, they found the two bodies, right? And the
Yeah.
conservatives had to come up in the House. You probably didn't see this,
Oh yeah,
but
and they apologized. Yeah.
did you see the speech?
No, I refuse to watch it.
Okay, well, you should have watched the speech because it was disgusting.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to watch it because they had to backpedal and tell people we're sorry because we didn't want to. We didn't think it was possible. I
No,
heard it was disgusting.
no, it was to forgive them for their shortcomings. Okay,
There's shortcomings.
that
Yeah.
that is what
Oh,
that is what they said.
What does that
Okay, I'm not making this up. This is what
what
they
does that
said.
even mean? Like, what does that mean? Their shortcomings? Their shortcomings for being so racist that
Narrow-minded,
they
narrow-minded.
refused to even bother to look at it because they were more worried about what it would cost than
yeah.
actually
Exactly. Yes.
the
Yes.
actually emotional and the actual justice for people. That is disgusting.
And that
Not
was
to
the
mention, 6 months after that incident happened with the conservative government, do you know what happened? A white man who was put in a dumpster was found within 6 months. But we had to fight 2 years.
where in
Shows
Winnipeg.
you where the priorities are.
Where in Winnipeg.
No, in Ontario.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear about that. I don't follow too much, like, and that's the problem with what goes on in this country, is
Yeah,
that
they
we're
and
very regional. We're very regional on news. If you do not watch international or national news, you don't get to hear what's going on in other
Well, that's
provinces.
thanks. That's thanks to Mark Zuckerberg not wanting to pay Canadian content, so we don't get to see any of anybody else's news on Facebook or anything anymore.
That's
And
correct.
and everybody goes, well, that was it. Wasn't a legislation to censor us. It was a legislation to pay our content news creators and everybody else the same amount of money that they were paying the U.S. and European content creators. Right? They're paying them. They just figured they'd just slough us off, like we didn't count.
Correct. Correct. Everything you're stating, I have no argument. I have to. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I'm not trying to make you. I'm not trying to feed you. I'm
No,
not.
no, 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 no. It's not. It's not something I don't know already.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you know, it's. I think we're finding that there's more and more like-minded people coming onto our algorithm. I also am finding that a lot of people that were following the other side of the map with the change in leadership with the Liberal Party, they're looking in this direction. I think the fiscal responsibility is a big thing for Canadians when it comes to affordability right now. I think they see that because he was the president of the Bank of Canada and that he did help us stay out of a recession in 2008 with the Harper government, that there's a possibility that he might be able to stabilize us enough so that we don't go into a recession, because we're one of the only G7 countries that didn't go into a recession after COVID, and that's because he was advising the government. So I don't know. Like I'm biased. I've been a Liberal for my whole life, but right now I've got a kind of a really nasty taste in my mouth for the local bunch that we've got right here right now. But that doesn't change my stance on how I feel about the policies that.
In my riding is Winnipeg Central. We have the Liberals are non-existent here in our riding. So we go NDP or Conservative. We've had an NDP for 10 years. She Garza, and she is absolutely a backbencher and is invisible.
Yeah.
So what are my choices?
Well, you still have to vote for the NDP because we want to strategically vote if nothing else. It's the same for us, like like us here. Like we're in an unwinnable riding. The last 3 elections, the Conservative has won here, no matter who we put in there. Even when I was living in Alberta, like Alberta's got a full Conservative, like no matter what.
Yeah, I know
We've
Conservative.
also gotten BC is going to get an extra seat out of this because they've broken up the ridings, right? Alberta's going to have there's 3 seats now available in Alberta and 1 in Ontario, which will kind of balance out. They feel maybe the population, per capita, because they did a per capita study, so they added some seats and cut back some ridings because the population has grown. And we didn't have those statistics because they weren't available for a while, right? So they did do that. So no, BC's going to be able to pick up a seat, and then Alberta's got 3 available. But I know because in Alberta, like the Liberal Party after David Swan resigned, and that was probably 2012. The Alberta Party, Liberal Party, dried up when we had no choices either. So I understand where you're coming from.
In Manitoba, most First Nations go NDP.
Well, then go NDP.
They go NDP. That's just the way it is, right? Southern Manitoba is all full of German Mennonites.
Go Conservative.
They go PC. All right, so the province is split. But once you leave Thunder Bay going west, there's not very many Liberal seats. And that's a shame, but that's the way it is. That's just the way it is.
Well, he did a real great smear campaign with Senior Trudeau all those years ago, and that stuck. And it stuck so good that the West thinks that they're the redheaded stepchild of Canada, and that they're
We
just
are. We
left
are.
out. And it's because of population, and we're not left out. But if we were smart, we'd start actually electing people that would give us a voice in Ottawa.
Well,
We're
that's
not
the
smart enough to do that.
like. How many ministers do we have that come from out west? Very few ministers. Do we have?
That's
And that's the
because nobody elects them.
yeah, and that's the way it is. So Ontario, Quebec, their policies, they determine the rest of Western Canada. But most people in Ontario have never gone past Thunder Bay. And they don't know what it's like to live in Western Canada, in Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Alberta or BC.
How many people out in Western Canada hate Quebec but have never been there?
Exactly. I'm a truck driver. I've driven across Canada a million times back and forth. I've seen the cultures, the different cultures. I was raised here in Manitoba and lived here all my life. There's
Sorry. So I keep telling people I got to go to Saskatchewan tomorrow, to pick up some beef, right? So these people that I'm going to pick up the beef from, they have the NDP government so much that we had ranches. They had ranches in Alberta. As soon as the NDP government got in Alberta, they moved to north of Winnipeg because there was a conservative government in Winnipeg or in Manitoba, right, where they could get a ranch where they could raise cattle and feed was a bit cheaper and blah blah blah. As soon as Wab Canoe got in, they sold and moved to Saskatchewan.
businesses normally, if you're a business and you're owner of a business, the conservatives usually help businesses because that's what they are. They tend to help more businesses. So if you're a business owner, you tend to go toward more conservative because they help businesses.
They know what they do is
Oh,
they
this.
help them. Because you know what, the conservatives cut, but the liberals actually cut business taxes for the small businesses. And during the CRB, conservatives wouldn't have given any of those businesses help or rental breaks or money for any of those. So I don't know how people think that the conservatives are going to help them, because when the downturn happens now and they're trying to help workers and businesses get subsidies, Poilievre's talking about tax breaks. He's not talking about money in your pocket. Tax breaking ain't going to do shit.
I would
Well,
like to
did you
clarify.
hear?
I'd
Yeah.
like to clarify something. For me, who's a small business owner, I'm telling you, I do not want the cons in. They're going to destroy my business like they did the last time.
Who are the cons?
The conservative government
Okay.
and also Legault right now. We're fighting against two, right?
That's Quebec.
Yeah, I'm in Quebec.
Okay.
Yeah,
La belle province.
yeah, la belle province.
That's it. I'm French myself. My family comes from Quebec, but
I'm Métis. I'm French and French Canadian and Indigenous. I'm French and Cree, I believe.
oh yeah,
And parlez-vous français comme ci comme ça.
I have a lot of friends that are Métis here in Winnipeg, so I get it. It's just it's a shitty system for First Nations. Like the First Nations last week came out after Carney won and said, "All right, Trudeau promised us drinking water, clean drinking water, and we're still waiting. We're waiting 20 years." Now,
Which one? That's a
I forget that.
There's 32. There's 32 reserves that are left out of 184 that didn't get drinking water. There are some that are actually in the works of being done,
86.
but they also have to train people. They also have to build them. So these things are still in the works. So I'm tired, and I love to talk about water because we talked about this a lot on one of the other shows. The fact of the matter is that that's a moot point too, because they've got no drinking water.
But that was said from the bands themselves.
Which band?
I can't. It was in the news. It was just in the news here, and I can't remember. There was 3 or 4 bands in Manitoba.
Yeah, there are some still left. Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and they said they're sick and tired of this, and they've been waiting 20 years, and
They've been waiting longer than 20 years, my dude.
Well, I'm just saying what they said on the news. I was watching CTV News.
I'm not disputing that at all.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, there are some still left that have been waiting for a very long time. Yes. But
So,
out of 184, there's 32 left. That's
well,
a
yeah.
huge.
No, I get that. I get that. But you know, when you say it's a moot point, I understand that completely. But at the same token, you know, when they're saying when these bands are saying, "Hey, enough is enough. We're going to hold Carney feet to the fire because you guys promised us," and I think they should, and I think they should.
Absolutely, they should.
Oh,
And
absolutely. I
I think
wholeheartedly
that's why they
agree.
kept what's her name? Um, oh, okay, not Cameron Bennett.
Jolie,
No. Patsy, what's her name? The gray hair. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head right now. She was the First Nations Ministry. Patty Hadu. So Patty Hadu is still in cabinet because she's still working on things First Nations wise, reconciliation wise. The reason why certain cabinet ministers were kept for this short interim because the writ's going to be dropped on Sunday, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not
we
even
know that. Yeah.
not even a miss. I thought it would be tomorrow, but the governor general, I guess, is away, so they have to wait till she because they were going they were going to go tomorrow, Friday, right? Keep it up during the week so that we can just kind of whatever. But anyways, um, but again, they should, and everything reconciliation should be number one priority. I don't care who the prime minister is. I don't care whether it's Carney. I don't care if it's Jagmeet Singh. I don't care if it's Polyev. First Nations should be number one. Reconciliation should be number one. Period.
Unfortunately, you're right. I should know. Let me rephrase that. You are right. Unfortunately, right now our biggest problem is um, what's down south.
Yeah,
Oh,
the orange potato. We know the orange potato is the biggest threat right now.
That's our biggest threat right now.
We know if we
But
stand with First
but
Nations and if Carney actually took a look at the map and realized that what part of Canada was actually all of it belonged to First Nations, and if he gave them sovereignty for everything, Trump wouldn't stand a chance even opening his mouth about 51st.
we still have sovereignty with those treaties. They
Right.
cannot take this country over without all 634 nations, First Nation peoples, and Métis and Inuit signing off, and we won't do it. We've been asking for our land back. It's pointless to just hand it over to someone who's going to destroy it.
like we also have to deal with China right now because
Yeah,
China.
because they own us.
No, they just put 100% tariffs on our canola and our soybean in Canada. I work in the ag business, so for me, it's that's affecting my work. Potentially can affect my work.
Absolutely. My husband's in oil, so we are watching all that stuff too. I'm going to just intervene right here for a minute. We've been going now for almost 2 hours. I don't know how everybody else feels. I can go for another little bit. But if you're in, can you please share the live? Tapping is clapping and sharing is caring. And if you can guess or gift the panel, that would be terrific because they're giving up their time right now too. And if you're willing to, help a trader get to the U.S. border, we have got a GoFundMe set up so we can help pay for them to go.
Hey, this is just one thing I want to say to someone in the comments. Late girl, I mean, somewhere down the line, I'm related to Louis Riel. I'm also related to Patrice Fleury, who is the guy that is in the book. They talk about him in Northwest is Our Mother. That's a good book for any Métis reconnecting. It tells you a line. It tells you how we were formed, what the name of us were before they were called the Métis, and how we got started in the Red River settlement. So I'll send you a DM with that book, my dear.
I'll check it out. Our problem here in Manitoba with the Métis is David Chartrand, the biggest crook that walks the planet. He is screwing people out of money left, right, and center. They got, I forget how many $billion they were given last year, and he's trying to get as much money as he can. A friend of mine who works for the Métis Federation, and he's actually a painter, and he worked on David Chartrand's new cottage. So it's terrible that there's that type of corruption in the Métis Federation. Because I've listened to my friend Dan, and him and we've had conversations for hours about how bad the Métis Federation is here in Manitoba, the MMF. So, how do you fix it?
And none of us are in Manitoba, so thanks for coming in and giving us a little insight into Manitoba, because we've got kind of an array. I'm in BC, Smarch is in Alberta, Sirius is in Quebec, and we're just going to welcome up Nothing. You want to just open up and tell us how old you are and where you're from?
Oh, at the end of the line, one of the biggest problems, we have no system in place that really could deal with corrupt leaders in any spectrum. Not one of them.
You're absolutely correct.
We have
Um,
no system in place because as long as they don't feel that they could be accountable legally, right? Yeah, they get a little investigation by the RCMP, and a slap on the wrist, and or else Brian Mulroney, all of them would be in jail right about now. But as long as they know they could get away with it, it's going to keep going and going. And unless and even the indigenous community doesn't get on board and say, listen, we need accountability for all these leaders. If they F around, they need to find out, just like if I would do half the things that they do with my business, I would want to go bay somewhere. I would be locked up for life. So,
yeah,
and they would seize all my property. Well, unfortunately, until that happens, we can't change nothing in how everything is going about. Mm. Uh,
Well, I think that it's a matter of people not really understanding what's going on in every situation, because we are regional, right? So, as Rick was saying, like, he drives truck and he goes through, we drive through Canada, and the cultures are different from one end of the country to the other. And I think that like I said, we say we're united and we're Canadian, but we are all very unique. And like I said, we've got some great representation here tonight because we've got Alberta, BC, Quebec. And Northern, I'm gonna ask you to unmic and introduce yourself and your age and where you're from.
Not the mama.
Are you not there? Okay. Anyways, we'll go ahead. But like I said, back, like, you're right, Rick. Like, there are so many things that are so different, and across the country. And again, like, that's how you like how do you make a pan Canadian united, like, kind of like, with trying to get through to everybody because of the Bible Belt, that runs through Alberta too. Like, that's a really hard area. Never mind First Nations that all run hand in hand. Like, it's a tough one.
yeah, very conservative, very conservative. Yeah, I get that. And every band across Canada is so different, like, and the way they live. Like the bands that are in BC are so different to the bands that are on the prairies, you know, and I get that. I completely understand and get that.
Oh, hello? Oh, sorry. I'm
No,
kind
you're good.
of. I just got it figured out.
You're fine.
Sorry, guys. This is my very, very, very first time going live ever on
Woo!
TikTok. So
We burst your bubble. That's
I'm
awesome.
glad it's with the beavers.
So welcome. I'm glad to have you. And
Thank
so,
you.
it's for TikTok purposes. How old are you, and where are you from?
I'm 36 yesterday, and I'm from southern Manitoba.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday, belated birthday. So we got two Manitobans in the house. That's awesome.
Yes,
Give
thank
us a
you.
little insight to what goes on in Manitoba, because honestly, I've never been to Manitoba.
Oh, well, there's lots of stuff that you can see and do here. So whenever you do decide to come here, just let me know and reach out, and
I
I'll
will.
for sure take you on some hiking trips and
I'd love to. Like I
That would
said,
be great.
I'm jealous that you guys have Wab Canoe as your premier, because he's wonderful, and I'm hoping that
oh,
maybe at some point he will head all the way to the prime minister's office. But
oh
I
well,
honestly
that's
believe
that's
that
what I'm
we
rooting for.
right,
2029.
right.
Woo!
But
Wap
first,
canoe.
First
Won't
Nation.
happen. I don't want to share them. Sorry.
Yeah, well, too bad. It's gonna happen. But and
I'm,
it's really nice to see that there are First Nations women in the caucus too, and that more First Nations are
Yes.
stepping in. And I know it's a really hard because let's face it, sovereignty, First Nation, and then accepting that Canadian government, right? It's and then you're working for the Canadian government. It's a fine line, right? When it comes to your cultures and different feelings about what happened in the past, and to be able
Yes.
to move forward enough to work in that realm to stand up for Indigenous peoples.
Yes.
I just think that's absolutely fabulous. So I would like to see more First Nations people be able to do that and step into politics because, like I said, my heritage is not First Nations at all. I do have I'm married to a First Nations man, which doesn't give me anything. I'm not a pass for anything. I had to do my own work and learning and my own,
You
sitting
know
and
what?
listening.
You're an advocate of
Yes,
anything, and that's
absolutely.
the very most important thing. It doesn't
And
matter
now a hundred
what
percent.
in what background, culture,
No.
anything that you come from. It matters if you're an advocate for any human being in this world,
Thank you. And I
right? Like
appreciate
that's
that.
the most important thing is that we
Right.
are all human. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Exactly. And I don't understand why we see. And I was raised that that everybody was equal. Like I wasn't ever. It was just that's just the way it was, right? And I don't understand. I can't comprehend why everybody isn't just humans, and why is this happening, and why did this happen, and why is this going on here, and why isn't
Because
equity
people
just a
are
thing?
dicks.
Why isn't equity just a thing? Like, and I'm not talking equality. I'm talking equity. So that everybody's like, I'm not talking socialism either. Like, we all have the same pocketbooks, and we're all the same money, and we all have to wear the same clothes and all. I'm
Yeah.
talking where we're all prosperous. We're all working together. But in my world, I would have lived in a teepee and came here and learned the ways of the people that live
Hmm.
here, and not stolen from them and taken everything they have. But
Yeah.
that's how I feel. How other people feel is how they
Can I
feel.
be 100% honest with all of you?
Always.
This is going to come off a little bit dicey and a little bit prejudiced. Fuck the caucus we have now. Take all the white people out and put all the indigenous people in there. I'm tired of having a white government run my country. I said what I said and I don't apologize.
In a perfect world, I guess.
Well, in hindsight, to be equitable, because we have to live in partnership, it should be 50-50, right? Because then you have both aspects of
Or
everything,
5149.
whatever, right? So that whatever the
60-40. I'll take 60-40.
exactly whatever it is, but we have to be smart. Like you said, you don't want to take our land, and you don't want to come like, and we don't want to, and we don't. We're not here to take any more. Like the people that are here
Right,
would
but
not have ever done what we like. We again, I will take responsibility for what my ancestors have done to a point, but I'm not here to fight with you about land
no, no,
ever.
no, 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 no.
Give it all back.
No, 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 no. I know that, my girl. I know that. I'm not aiming this at
I
you.
know you're not. I know
It's
you're not.
not
You're
that.
good.
but
You're good.
I have a question here. A quick question. Um, you have immigrants coming to this country today, and they say, why do we have to pay for First Nations? We because we didn't do anything for it. We
They're
didn't
not
take
paying
care.
for it. They're not paying for
They're
Well,
not
anything.
paying for it. They're not paying for it.
None
but
of
in
us are paying.
taxes they
No,
are.
no, they're not. No,
No, no.
No,
Oh, okay,
no.
our
okay. No,
taxes
no.
do
I'm just
not go to
asking.
First Nations. No, I'll let the First Nations ladies here explain to you how that works.
Oh, please do.
Okay.
I want to learn.
Okay. So, when we live on reserve, we don't pay taxes. When we live off reserve, we don't. We pay taxes. So it's just a matter of if you live and work on reserve, and that's all it is. We don't get any handouts from the government like everybody's been fucking getting for bullshit for years. That's not a thing. Everyone's got to stop doing that because there's been a trust fund set up for since the get go by the crown or by Queen Victoria or whoever it was, signed over this trust to the First Nation saying, look, we fucked up, we took more than we should have, so forth and so forth. That bank account today, that trust account should have $2 trillion in it with a $35.8 billion interest. It is not that anymore. The Supreme Court of Canada, and I have the video on my page if you want to go check it out. There's and I'm gonna post a link to it because I found the link. Um, So what it is this link will show you that the Supreme Court of Canada told the federal government of Canada you have to hand it over to them. And they can't because there's nothing really left in that account. So all your surplus checks that you get over the years, all your little, like, the grocery money that you get, that was all taken from First Nations trust accounts. So that's where the taxes come from. That's how that works.
So yeah, our income tax does not pay for First Nations. Our income tax doesn't pay for social services, for welfare either. Everything's jurisdictional when it comes to our provincial services too. But First Nations trust funds is also resources that is taken and paid to and put into trust for them as well.
But that money has to come from someplace, though, right?
Yeah, oil companies and the resources.
Everything that your government has garnished and took from the land, all of that money and resources have
The
came from
revenue,
somewhere. All the money that Canada has, that they have, has come from Indigenous land, where you basically, there, well, not you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say you,
No. I get it. I get it.
but
I
you're, but the government and the crown, and they put Indigenous people onto certain parts of Canada, right? Like they push them. They're like, no, you better get the heck out of here, man. If you don't get out of here, we're gonna starve you, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna grape your women. If you don't get out of here, you better pay the consequences. So they basically were pushed, starved to
Mhm.
death into these places that they call reserves to this day, right? Reservations, whatever you want to call it, reserves,
Yeah.
but that's where
Um.
they were pushed to. And if it wasn't for that, they would have extracted every single thing that the Canadian government right now, and where Donald Trump and everything is trying to come into, is take those resources, the only thing left in Canada, from our reserves, basically where all of our minerals and our water, everything is on reserves, where basically you guys pushed us out to.
Yeah.
And you know what? And everything else that is being polluted and destructed and destroyed based on greed and wealth, and how high you up are on the fucking level of anarchy. Like,
Mhm.
it's disgusting. And now you want reserves.
Right.
No. No, enough
And
is enough.
and not to
You
mention,
know
Mama.
how much Canada would be prosperous if they even just just said, "Hey, you know what? Come and sit and have a chat with me. Let's figure this out. Let's see how we can do this safely. Let's see how we can put our fucking thinking caps on together, instead of you belittling me because of the color of my fucking skin." That's bullshit.
Mm. Not to
We
mention,
would be prosper. Oh, we would be the fucking richest country on Mars.
yeah, we would be. And not to mention, not the Mama. It wasn't only that, they took the land that
Yeah.
was prosperous, gave us the land that wasn't prosperous. Now
Oh,
the
but
thing
now it's
is,
prosperous because that's where the
right?
fucking the rest of the minerals,
Wait,
water, and everything is.
just, my girl, I'm with you on this. I feel the anger in your voice. I feel that same
I'm
anger.
so upset. And you know what? I've had so many years to think about this. I've had so many years to go over this in my head, and
Yes, and I
now,
just,
like, I'm beyond the point where I'm upset. I'm just
I,
like,
I'm enraged.
I feel like when I try talk to people about it, I feel like they think that I'm upset, but I'm just fucking tired. I'm just
Right,
exhausted of
not the
explaining the
Mama.
same shit over and over and over. Like, I got children that,
Yeah, I got children
I tell
too.
them once and they listen.
Yes.
Jesus.
Well, and that's the thing, right? The thing is, the government was the treaties were to share the land with the indigenous people,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is, they weren't supposed to drill no bigger than the depth, no further than the depth of a plow. That's
Yeah.
what they were supposed to do, but they didn't actually do it, right? So this is why. And another thing that I'm actually really pissed off about is people talking about. Oh, I go hunting for sport. Animals are not to me unalive or hunted for sport. It's a fucking way of life.
Yeah.
And if you're not using all of the meat and all of the deer that you can use, and you're not burying what you can into the earth and giving it back to Creator, you
Yeah.
are not hunting properly. You are doing it in an evil manner, and that should be considered illegal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
think
just my
that's
own opinion. And I
they
don't
do it
speak for
for
all
greed and
Indigenous
sport.
people. Yeah, I have problems with my some of my family that have taxidermied, you know, animals and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I don't want a part of this. And they're like, why is it wrong for me to do this? I'm like, because you're not hunting for that meat. You're hunting for the sport. And sport is not a fucking hunting is not a game that you should be playing because you're fucking with the earth and you're fucking with Mother Nature and Creator, and it's gonna come back on you. And juju is not good. You're
Yeah.
inviting bad juju into your house.
I I'm a fisherman. I love to fish.
Me too.
That's my passion.
I'm a fisherwoman.
Yeah, my wife and
Uh,
I we're big on the fishing. Now
I'm not allowed to go fishing
we caught
anymore.
I've caught a couple of trophies, a couple of big trophy fish, but those fish are put back into the lake, and we take a picture. And if I want to get a graft mount made of it, I have no issue with that. But the big fish, she went back into the lake.
That's the best thing to
I'm
do.
I'm not allowed to go fishing because I caught a hook in my hand, and they told me I'm not allowed fishing anymore.
So
I've
we're
done.
just going to take a minute here and welcome Jana to the Jana up to the panel. Jana, do you want to just say hello and tell everybody how old you are for TikTok purposes, please?
Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Just had my headset on. I didn't know if my speaker was working. Yeah, I was trying to sleep, so if I sound drowsy, I have a bout of insomnia. And I thought, I'm going to check and see if Pixie's show is on. And so congratulations on your first show. Well, with this show.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming up. Yeah, it's kind of gone a little bit off topic, but we started out with, cards and stuff, and it was, trying to stay light, but then people start talking about other things, and you know how it goes. So we're just kind of...
Oh, that's okay. Actually, what's really interesting is that I would say I feel exactly the same way as Smarshy, because I've thought about it, and like my son, I'm the last person you'd expect to have a pal, but I got my pal. It's a long story, mostly because my husband passed away and he was a hunter. And so my brother took care of the guns and I had to get a pal so that I could keep some for my two older kids. Anyway, back on topic, one of my kids wants to go hunting. He's the younger one, he's 16. So I'm trying to figure out how to take him and where to take him and like how to figure this out because I don't know anything about hunting. So I'm going to have to do a lot of research and maybe see if there's like someone we can go along with or, something like that.
That's your best bet. That is
Your
your best
best
bet.
bet is to call the license, the hunting license, or call
Yeah.
Game and Wild and Life Game, Wildlife and Game, I think it is in Alberta. Call them and ask them
Okay.
where the best place to go hunting is, and just explain
Yeah.
them that you had your carrying license and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Let them know that you went through the training courses if you have. If you haven't
Yeah.
gone through training courses, your best bet is
Oh
to
no, you
go.
have to in Alberta
Okay,
or
okay,
well
yeah,
in
well,
Canada.
yeah, well, in
Yeah.
Alberta, it's kind of, they're trying to give 12-year-olds handguns, but whatever. We'll deal with that another
Really?
day.
Probably, but yeah.
Jana, are you able to hunt on reserve?
No, I'm
No,
not First
that
Nations.
is for First Nations or Métis.
Well, that's what I was
They have
asking. Again, I wasn't sure whether Jana was. I wasn't sure, so that's why I was just asking.
Oh,
No,
you're good.
thank you for not assuming, but yeah, no, I'm not.
Okay.
So
Well, I
I just want to, pardon me?
I would love to share a small story with you all, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What the fuck are you doing up at this hour?
There's my son. Just a second.
I heard that.
So you needed comedy. There you go.
There you go. Here's this is a true story. Year and a half ago, my brother passed away. He was 10 years older than me, and he passed away. But he's married to a Métis woman, and she's a wonderful. She's my sister-in-law. And my brother always went with kind of the way she thought, like, your body is a spirit after you've gone. It's not like heaven or hell. It's a spirit, right? So the day that my brother had passed away, my wife and I were on the lake, on Lake Winnipeg, fishing. And I had asked, should I come? What, like, do I need to come to Toronto? Because that's where he was living. And anyway, she said, nope, stay fishing. I said, you sure? She said, stay fishing, stay there for the weekend. We'll talk on Monday or on Tuesday. And I said, okay. And this was August long weekend. Anyway, the day he passed, that morning he passed away. And my wife and I, we had the best fishing day ever. We caught over 100, it's catch release, right? But we caught over 100 fish that day. And there were lots of boats on the water, and they were coming close to us, and they weren't catching anything. And they were watching us. We were just bringing them in one left right after another. And I had to believe that day that my brother and his spirit did something for us.
Yep. Um, what was I gonna say?
Sorry if I
Really lovely
sidetracked you,
story.
but
No, that's a beautiful story, and I'm sorry for your loss. That's an awesome story. But
I'm sorry about the
I believe the
loss.
same thing too. Is that I'm an atheist, right? I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe that children should be told that if they're bad, they're going to go and burn in hell. Like, I just don't believe in any of that. But I am very spiritual. I believe that we are a soul and we're energy, and that we do carry on, and our energy and our souls
that's
go
exactly how my sister-in-law thinks. Exactly the same way as you are.
like back into the earth, because that's where we actually come from.
Yep.
So, and like I live in town now. I used to live on a ranch on 4.5 sections, where I really got more in touch with farming and nature and animals, and kind of changed the whole kind of aspect of the way I was living before. Because before I was living rough and not living the greatest, lifestyle, to be fair, but now 20 years later, you wouldn't know. But, it's been, a journey of all kinds of change. And I think we all evolve. And I think as we get older, we all learn, and we all take the time to listen a little better, right? We're not so fast moving. And I think for a lot of us Gen Xers, because we're all Gen Xers, most of us here tonight. Yeah.
Nope.
Are you a boomer?
Yeah, I'm a boomer. 1964, the last year.
You're the same age as my ex-husband. But again, but that age group, like that kind of like where, you know what I mean? Where we're kind of, we weren't taught these things when we went to school. We didn't know about residential schools. We didn't know because we weren't taught, because it wasn't in the books that we were taught. So I think for us to be able to sit back and listen and take the time to learn about these things, we really need to do that, right? And I'm glad to see that some of us are doing that, because there are brothers and sisters. I went to school in Lethbridge, right next to the Piikani Nation, and some of my best friends. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a matter of where you came from or who you were. It was a matter that we were just friends, right?
In my family, I have there's my dad had 7 brothers and 2 sisters, so he came from a very big family. So there's a few of my cousins that married First Nations women, and they lived that style of First Nations. It's not a big deal. We don't, whatever. But we grew up with all the nephews and nieces, at the family reunions, and we didn't look at them as anything different, because they were our cousins. They were family. We didn't look at them as anything different. So I have a different perspective when it comes to First Nations, because for me, I'm not First Nations, but I have a real. I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say it, but it bugs the hell out of me. All right, that they've been treated this way, and it has to stop.
Um,
It has to stop. And I don't know. I'm not the smart man to figure out how to make it stop, but it has to stop.
You talking
uh,
about it, you speaking about it, and you even like listening and learning. You're doing your part.
yeah. So
You're doing your part.
I have a really fun. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of scary at the same time because I laugh at my aunt every time I someone brings it up. I start laughing, and my aunt like wants to like unalive me with a shoe because that's just what she can throw. I guess I don't know. So let's go with that. But my aunt used to live in Silver Lake, BC. I don't know if you know where that is. It's just outside. No, Silverdale. Yeah, it's Silverdale. It's just outside of Mission, BC, and like it's like 10 minutes away from Mission. And my aunt was living where she was living, and she could hear her dog going nuts. And my uncle's like, "What is go?" My aunt's like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh no, it's nothing. I got a hideout there. Maybe another dog came into the yard or something. I maybe nicked him." So my aunt went to go like open the glass door, but thankfully she's smart enough to like turn the light on outside and swings open the not the door, the curtain, like to this back sliding door, and there standing right in front of her, between the glass, is a black bear. Yeah, black bear right in front of her glass window, and she's like, "What do I do?"
Yikes.
Oh yeah. My uncle and auntie's dog Nikki, she saw that bear go out like to the front door, like to the back sliding door where my aunt was. Chased that bear away. We just started barking and chased it away finally.
Anyway, guys, or ladies, thank you so much for having me up here. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor. Thank you very much, Beaver, for letting me up. But I think it's time for me to try to get some sleep. I'm recovering from bilateral knee replacements, so
Ooh.
Well, thanks for
I'm sorry.
Roger or Rick, and we will definitely follow you back. This is
Yeah.
not my personal page. My personal page is Pixie Lee 55, and you're more than welcome to follow me, and I will follow
I
you.
definitely will. I definitely will throw a follow. Yeah, you throw it to me, I'll make sure I follow back. And
Absolutely. Well, the thing of it is we all just got to try and be a little more kind to each other. I think, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
perspectives out there, and we can't and always change each other's mind. The only people that I will not give space to is schmatzels.
yeah,
No.
yeah. No, I get
Like
that.
and we want to bring them up and have a little discourse with them sometimes, but again, I will give them about 2 minutes space, and that's it because I'm just less space, less air, less time, better. But I'm always
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to meet another ally. So thanks so
And
much.
Rick, I appreciate you being so kind, and I didn't mean to come at you in the comments. I'm
that's
just
cool.
really
That's
touchy
cool.
when people
I ask a lot of
mention
questions. And some people
and
don't. They don't
these
like my
characters.
questions.
No, it's not that I don't like your questions. It's just that there are not enough characters to go into depth of what you're asking.
But here's the
So,
thing:
like,
text is always kind of like there's no tone to it, right? You can't see the person's face and you can't hear their voices. So sometimes comments and stuff were taken in a different context than the
You're
actual
right. Yeah,
right,
you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's no
absolutely.
emotion in
glad
the
that
text.
that you came up so that you and Smarsh could kind of like go back and forth, and now you understand each other and you guys can be friends rather than going. Comments would have
I
been.
don't want to go back and forth with people. I really don't. But if someone's being disrespectful, I have every right to defend myself.
Yeah,
I do not apologize for being mean. If you
Yeah,
come at
I'm
me
not.
friendly,
I try not. I'm very, very. I'm not. I don't disrespect people because that's just the way who I am and the way I was brought up. But I do ask questions, and sometimes my questions are might sound dumb. And
no,
I've
no,
heard,
no,
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 no.
no.
People say that. Well, that's a dumb fucking question.
no question is dumb because it
No
means that
question is
you're looking for the
But you
answer.
know what I mean, though. Like
yeah,
they always say, "Oh, that's a dumb fucking question. Where'd you come up with that?" Like that's, don't you? I'm like, yeah, whatever. But
yeah.
um, I ask a lot of questions, and if I don't answer, like, you know, you might be more educated on certain topics than I am, and I can guarantee that you are because I don't know. So
Right.
if I don't ask those questions, and you can't, educate me, I will never be educated.
Right.
Also, it's not only that, I've dealt with like insane amount of like racist people today, and yesterday and the other day telling me that land wasn't stolen, land was given away. When the fuck did I sign those contracts? Because I didn't
So
give shit away to anybody.
Exactly. So, but these are things that's why I ask questions, and if I didn't mean to rub you the wrong way with
Oh,
my
no, no, no.
questions,
You're good now. You're good.
but it was questions because I was interested in the topic, and this topic
Yeah.
to me is kind of hits home for me, right?
Well,
Yeah.
we
So,
have
but
another program on the Beaver Network that's called oh,
Indigenous Matters.
Indigenous Matters on Monday nights with Treaty Six. She's very educated, informed, a professional within the systems that work with through government and Indigenous peoples. Every one of her shows is very informative. And I believe that's 6 p.m. on Monday nights on this network. So that's Indigenous Matters. So if you're really wanting to really learn a lot of stuff, you can catch that show too, because she's
I,
amazing. And Smarch is usually involved in that too, and a lot of us will come in. But yeah, Treaty Six is amazing.
excellent. I'll check it out. Ladies, have a wonderful evening. It will catch you later.
Great, thanks for coming up.
You betcha. Bye bye now.
Well, that was awesome. That that he was willing to come up and actually speaking again. Like comments and stuff sometimes can be taken
Oh, yeah.
in wrong context. And I'm glad that we can bring people up so that we can either educate them or find out that they're really the douchebag in the comments that we think they are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were beautiful.
Because sometimes, sometimes I come across on a comment too and people are like, you didn't just say that, but I didn't mean it in the way it kind of came across in the comment, because sometimes text isn't always the best, but that's okay. I'm glad we got that straightened out. So I think we're gonna chop this off in about 10. It's 1:30, almost 20 after, so we'll give it another 5 minutes and we'll call her a night, ladies, because I'm a little pooped. I worked all day and then I got to get up and, make that big drive tomorrow. So, it's not even a big drive. I'm just going to go to my mom's tomorrow to Lethbridge. But, yeah, I'm still, tired. How about you?
I was going to say I'm going to be going back to bed soon. But I just wanted to drop in, and I wanted to see, could we use that little last bit as a promo clip
Yeah.
for Treaty Bird? Because I thought that would be a cool one. Because
Yeah.
you said that was so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that, Jenna, because it's true. Like in reality, like because we have the privilege of having her on this network, she is able to raise awareness and educate people in such a kind manner, and also
Oh, absolutely.
professional, and be able to and educated. Like she knows these everything when it comes to even the treaties, how it works with government, with working with environment and pipelines and oil.
I know.
And what the processes are and what has to happen to make any of these projects work. And it helps to educate people that don't understand that whole process of consultation.
Exactly. And she does such a lovely job of it. And she's so patient. And repeating the same answers sometimes, because I do watch her show a lot. And she doesn't lose patience with people as long as they're willing to learn.
Right. And sometimes I do, because you see me kind of like that one, I don't like the disrespect. I will lose my mind on disrespect, right? And I don't care who it is. Don't disrespect people. So, and I try to be patient too, especially when it comes to this, because this is public, right? People can watch you lose your mind, and it's not always coming, right? So especially when we're doing these kind of things, we have to, if it's on my own personal page, you're fair game.
Right. And I agree with not the mom is we've had conversations on through DMs, and she's like,
Yeah.
we'll get you there. We'll get you doing a little better,
Yeah.
because she wants me to be better and I want to be better. And I've noticed now when I'm asked questions or I'm asked my opinion, um I'll say as an Indigenous person, and this is my opinion as one Indigenous person, I won't speak for the whole group, because I've noticed that before I was doing that and I wasn't meaning to, right? So I'm learning, and I'm sure not the mama bear is learning.
You're on your own journey too, because you're reconnecting too, right? Which is a
Right.
different perspective than somebody that has lived their whole life on reserve, or somebody that's lived their whole life connected to their culture too. So everybody's got their own
Right.
individual stories, which they can share with you, and then you can share yours, and it's a lovely connection that you're journeying through, Smarch. And it's so nice that you've got a lot of support to help you.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd have the support, and uh, yeah, we always have our ups and downs. You're right, not the mama, and I appreciate you
Mm-hmm.
so much. But I am going to watch a movie and pass the fuck out on my chair because I have been trying to sleep since 7, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
And here you're still, hanging with me, and I appreciate you coming and hanging with me. And Sirius, you
Thank
too.
you.
All the way from Quebec. Ah, my friend from Montreal. I love you, and I'm glad that you came in
Bye
tonight.
bye.
And thanks everybody for coming up because, we weren't planning on being on this long, but I guess we did. And that was great, right? We had a lot of conversations that were great on all different aspects from, history to a little bit of funny to some indigenous matters. And that's what we have to do. It's full spectrum tonight. So y'all have a good night. I'll be back next Thursday night at the same time. Tomorrow is Friday, which means I believe it is Frontline Feminist, and it is Polytalk tomorrow night at 6. And that will be open debate for anybody who wants to come in, I guess. And she goes for about 3 hours, depending on how tired she is. So, and I'm not sure who's
Fair.
hosting with her. Could be Miss Radical. I'm not sure. Anyways, again, thank you for the gifts, thanks for the follows, and thanks for coming in. This is the Beaver Network, and Pixie Lee out. Good night.
I
Good night.